illustrious, multi-talented Afua Richardson.
Hello.
And the first question from the first press outlet. I don't appreciate
Hi, Matt Jenkins, Moana Nui Podcast Network. I've been a fan of yours for a while now. I forget when exactly it was that I first saw your first piece of artwork, but it had me wondering, what was the event or art piece, or what was the thing that let you know, hey, I can actually make a career out of doing this?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was a musician first. I started playing the flute at 9.
Yes.
By 11 playing in Carnegie Hall. Got accepted to LaGuardia for the performing arts and did an undergrad at Juilliard.
Oh, nice.
And I joined in my sophomore year this all-female hip-hop crew. And they were B-girls and MCs and singers and just really unique performers.
You were playing the flute?
I was playing the flute, yeah. But I was also a mimic.
Okay.
So I would, I'd play my flute and then I'd stop and...
Beatbox, right?
And then I'd start mimicking singers like... My funny Valentine. And I'd do all these little jazz routines, or I'd mimic, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, Bob Marley, whomever I vibe to.
Right.
And then I realized that if I wanted people to show up to my shows, I had to have a cool flyer. During the 90s and the 2000s, when you saw a flyer that was cool, you kept it on your wall, and you're like, I want to go to this, because art has that kind of influence where you look at a cover, or you look at a book, or you look at a flyer, and you're like, this looks like fun. How does that graphic design magic work? That you look at something and it looks good. It looks like it's going to be a good time. So I started designing my flyers from the influence of like Caribbean bashments and Vogue and all these fashion magazines with manga and anime and Neon Genesis Evangelion, like their cool graphic design, just mashing that all into one and turning the other gals in the group into comic characters for my flyers.
Oh, very nice.
And so I started making mock magazine covers, mock comic book covers, and then I started getting asked to do it as a profession when I started going to comic conventions and just talking to people. So I don't know if there was a single piece that made me say, yeah, I can do this for a living. It was more like art is necessary for life. A lot of the decisions that we make, we go into a store, I was talking about it yesterday, we go into a store, we look at a package, we're like, ooh, this looks good. How? We can't taste it, we can't smell it. The art communicates something to us. So I saw that if I wanted people to show up, I had to represent what was happening. And so I employed that passion really early, out of necessity as a musician, and I couldn't afford to hire an artist, so I had to be that artist. And it was something that I loved anyway. I had a lot of jobs because after 13, home was a little precarious. So my mom had a mental illness. That mental illness told her one day, don't come home. And so I was on my own. And I was like, well, what do I know how to do?
What age was that?
13.
Middle school.
Yeah. I came home to people going through my stuff on the curb, and I had my flute, my book bag, and my sketchbook. And I think I was too young to even really understand how dangerous that situation was in New York City to be a 13-year-old girl by themselves. But I was tall, and I was like, well, I'll get a job. So I worked at a children's museum. I worked as a secretary. I did telemarketing for only a week. I could not for the life of me feel okay, right? I was like, well, how can I be of service? How can I figure out how I can be of service to someone and they pay me to be able to live? And the best thing for me was art, because no one knew any artist. They were like, hey, can you do an album for me? Yes, I can. I will figure out how, but yes, I can. Hey, can you turn me into a anime character? Absolutely. I do it all the time. I'll sit on the subway, carry my sketchbook, and draw someone as fast as I can before they move. And so it was early figure drawing and I just had to figure it out. But I can get really long-winded, so move on to the next question. Yes.
Kind of like to roll because I'm Jeff Carroll from BlackSci-Fi.com. I met you at the Blacktasticon years ago.
Oh my gosh!
So
see you again.
this was before like the Marvel covers and stuff like now, and I'm rolling with you. So my questions come after your last comment.
Awesome.
So my question would be, based on all of the evolutions that you went through, this last one, I'm assuming you learned to play flute by ear as well, or did you go to school?
I was actually, it was in elementary school.
Okay.
My first instructor was a Juilliard graduate.
Okay. So now, like with illustrations, did you go to school for that?
That I did not.
Now, you self-taught, but
No,
did you have
self-taught.
to? Did you ever get to the point where you say, you know what, let me learn from somebody? Because like now everybody does YouTube tutorials.
Very true.
How did you learn and hone your skill to like lock in and say, all right, this is where I'm going to be for the next moment?
When I was learning art, there was definitely no YouTube. There were barely tutorials online. So I just started asking people. I had to kind of get over my shyness because I was very shy. I felt great being on stage. You didn't have to talk to anybody. You just performed, did your thing, and you got off. You knew there are your instructions. You follow the instructions, you get off. But speaking to people, that was tough. But the information that they could give to me was more important than my feelings. So I had to just think of a question, first support them, walk over to them and say, hi David Mack, I really, really love your work. Would you mind, can I buy something from you?
Right.
Would you mind signing my book? I have a piece of artwork I really want to improve. Would you let me know what's right and what you feel is not as strong about this? And he took a look at it, he was like, wow, you did this. Yes, sir. And he was like, well, this is great. This is great. You might want to be careful about your white spaces when you're dealing with watercolor. Control your light. I was like, okay, control your light. Walked up to Brian Stelfreeze. Hello, hi, I love your work. Same thing. Is there anything that you can give me as far as advice? I was like, oh, wow, this is really fantastic. Work on your perspectives. Hold your sketchbook still when you're practicing. Don't move your head and don't move your hand. And draw what's in front of you by moving your eyes. Have you ever tried to take a photo and then try to take another photo with the exact same angle? You can't. Your head changes your perspective. So when you look down and back up again, you're changing the perspective of what you're seeing. In order to control how you capture the shape of the light and the shape of the shadow, hold your book still, hold your head still, and move your eyes. Plus, they're not going to know that you're looking at them. That way you can control, because they're going to move. You're obviously going to move. Subjects are going to move, but you're going to try to have to control your subject as much as you can. Hold still. And turn the scene that you're looking at into a comic panel. Just light and dark. Don't focus on details, just light and dark. Shape the light, shape the shadow. You decide where your details are going to be. Will your details be in the shadow or will they be in the light? If they're all over the place, people won't know where to look. So, thank you. And finish your pieces. Stop judging them before they're done. Just finish them. And it's like you're judging a cake from the batter. Finish it and then decide if it's good enough. You'll get better as you continue. Thank you, Yoda. I mean, Brian Stelfreeze. And I just kept asking artists, what would you tell first year you if you could go back in time and just whisper in your ear and say the right thing that would know your worth? Have fun. Draw what you enjoy. But also draw things that are difficult. Draw hands, draw cars, draw everything. Draw everything that you see, because your mind is an empty well, and if you have artist block, that means you just don't have enough information. That doesn't mean that you're not good. That doesn't mean that you are not good enough as a person, as an individual, because a lot of artists base their worth off of what they create. And if it can't compare to what's out there, people who have years and years and years of filling their minds with information that they can recall that information at a moment's notice, You're comparing yourself to someone who's completed the video game and has gone back to the beginning with all their stats.
Yeah.
You can't compare yourself to that. You can't. You just don't have the HP. So be patient with yourself. Be diligent. You have to be consistent, because you can start and stop and start and stop and be like, man, I did this great piece a little while ago. Why can't I do it now? Because you've severed the connection between your mind and your hand. It's a skill. It's a motor skill. It's something that you have to maintain. It's like a road. You've got to clear the debris, and you've got to make sure it's smooth. Because if you don't, you leave it there for a couple of years, it's going to overgrow with weeds. It's going to crack the pavement, and you're not going to be able to make that commute as easy. So, yeah.
First, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you. You're so welcome.
And also, congratulations on your health.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I think
What
those
a
are two great
crazy
areas.
journey.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, you know,
Yeah.
like I
That's-
feel like 4.5 years ago, time has been a blur since COVID. Anybody else experienced that? You're just
just
like,
a little
wait,
bit.
it's a week. What is a month? What's a year? I was with a partner who did not like me, you know, and I didn't realize that. I just thought, man, you know, if I worked hard enough, I will earn their love. They didn't see my worth. They were never going to see it.
Right.
And they sabotaged a lot of my projects. Calling my clients, threatening their lives. Yeah, they are. And some people do not want to see you succeed. And you have to be really mindful of who you have around you and how they make you feel. They may be your friend. You may have known them your whole life. But if you feel bad every time you're around them, then you might need to reevaluate that friendship.
Yeah.
Relationships at all. And sometimes we feel that we owe people our loyalty when they just don't deserve it. And so I really had to learn how to edit my social circles, that there are some people who just, not that I see friendships and relationships as, well, what can they do for me, but what is the outcome? And if the outcome is I'm drained, I'm tired, and I'm not my best self, then I just need to put them on the outer circle, not the inner circle. So that was something that I had to learn. And that moment for me with them was when I slipped and fell. I stepped on my cat getting out of the bathtub. He loved to snuggle up near the tub, and I didn't see him when I stepped on it, but I hit my head on the faucet. So he comes into the room, I don't know how much later, and says, "Oh, you actually fell. Well, if you think you're gonna pass out, you know, just send me a text." And he went back into the other room. So I got myself into bed, and I was like, if I survive this, I need to get out of here. It's time. And so I took an Uber to the hospital, got myself an MRI, found out that I had a very severe concussion on top of other neck damage that I already had. And so it was very difficult to get away, but I did. And once I did, the healing process started. I felt like I couldn't move forward with my book. I kept trying to move forward with all of this stuff on my back. And my head was cloudy, and I couldn't understand why just moving forward with things or seeing my own inner vision was so difficult. And I was like, oh, after paying attention to my body, paying attention to the pain and some of the symptoms, I was like, okay, I've got tumors hanging out and it's stealing my vitality. Great. Okay. I would go to doctors. They would you're just in your 40s. Your energy goes down. Just lose some weight. Don't stop eating gluten. And I was just like, no, this is different. So I went to a doctor and asked for specific tests, and they found it. So they had 5 clustered tumors that were about the size of a watermelon. And I was just like, where? You know, how are you guys here? They were moving my other organs over. So I got them removed, thankfully. And, you know, I spent some time by myself, but I was angry. You know, I felt like life the universe or whatever created this crazy experiment had dealt me a raw deal. And I'm like, why did I have to experience all these terrible things? And I was like, well, sometimes you've got to remove what's in front of you to make space for a garden. And I was like, man, everyone's like, everything happens for a reason. I was like, yeah, I'd like to know what that reason is, maybe right now. And as I'm walking and talking to myself like a crazy person, a UPS truck drives by. And I had just come from Georgia and I moved to Illinois. And I was still in my southern ways and waving to cars as I passed. And so I waved to the UPS truck and he boop, boop. And the next day I'm sending out artwork and UPS driver comes to the door and I'm trying to figure out all these labels and packages and he helps me out. And he's like, you're not from around here, are you? And I was like, what gave it away? He's like, I think I saw you walking yesterday. I was like, oh, do people not walk here? He's no. I was like, oh. Okay. And so we start having a conversation. He's telling me like the places that are around, good places to eat, maybe something that's like a comic book shop that would be of interest to me. There are none where I am. But there's some that are out of town. And I just said, man, isn't it interesting how you have to figure out who you are independently of your town? How much that dictates who you are and what you think of yourself. And he's like, man, I'm actually going through the same thing. I'm like, really? And so we became friends and he became my husband. So I asked for what that reason was and it was delivered.
Wow.
So,
that's beautiful.
and he is my best friend.
Yeah.
He's my best
That's
friend.
wonderful.
So a little bit my question.
Yes.
It's really about empowerment and
Yes.
the female empowerment. Well, we still lack the female empowerment and encouragement in our society.
Absolutely.
And of course now we're going through even more struggles as females being empowered. What are some things that you've struggled a little with, especially in the TV industry, being a female, and then also some inspiration for young females?
I feel like confidence is what really stifles a lot of creatives. They think that they can't, so they don't try. And they feel like a space is supposed to be created for them in order to make a step. Well, that's not going to happen. No power is going to be unseated without a credible threat. So you have to make your own space and you have to become a credible threat, which requires you to wear a lot of hats. You've got to not expect anyone else to see or understand your vision, but take the advice that makes sense. Make small goals for yourself and don't ask for permission to be yourself, because we distort ourselves and reform ourselves to be these palatable people. It's not that we shouldn't take criticism from those who love us or those who see that we may be on a path that doesn't serve us. But if there is something that you are truly passionate about, something that, you're like, I have always wanted to transform that into tomorrow I am going to start. Today I am going to start. Right now I am a piano player. Right now I am a this. And it doesn't matter if you're not good at it. That just means that you haven't put in the repetitions yet to be excellent. So young ladies, power is not the ability to control others. It's to control your environment. Create your own space and bond with people who want the same things. And that's how you get power. You help someone else, they help you, you fortify yourself, and you may not be able to control the world. Who wants that? I don't want that. No one does. But to control how you treat people and how others are treated in your circle, in your presence, that is power. And to be able to create those things where you're like, look, no matter what, this is getting done. I have found someone who wants to do these things. I'm going to create my thing here and I'm going to create something with them. And then you just keep building. You create something that's similar to a susu, where it's like, okay, everyone is going to take $1 and then give it to this person. They're going to get what they need. In 2 months, we're all going to give that $1 to this person. And you generate wealth within your circle, and you make that circle bigger. Yes. Oh. I'm sorry.
You didn't get a question.
So you're one of the few Black women to work for the big publishing companies. I think it's like you, Stephanie Williams, N.K. Jemisin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for like young artists who are interested in working for a major publisher?
Well, major publishers are looking for creatives who can make their product look good. So, if you want to work for Marvel or DC or Penguin Random House, Kodansha, draw for the job that you want. Draw the things that they currently publish in your way. You know, so if what you love to draw is robots, draw your version of the Transformers, because they can get what they already have. Don't try to mimic what exists already. They can get that from someone who they know. But if you can bring something, that piece of you, to their product, then they'll come to you. And if you present yourself online, if you be mindful of the things that you post online, consider it your professional billboard. From your Facebook page to your Instagram, you have to be mindful that everything is under scrutiny. So if you want to be seen by these companies, you need to make sure that not only are you presentable, but understand that your post and your consistency has an impact. So tag them. Tag them when you create work. It's your SEO optimization, which is your search engine optimization, which means that if someone is searching for something, if they're searching for Black female artist robots, Powerpuff Girls, whatever it is, put that below whatever it is that you post, because if you consistently do so, it will come up and they see it. There was a cover that I did, Shuri and Storm, their first appearance together on a comic book. And I gave Shuri sneakers, but I gave her some Adidas.
Right.
I tagged Adidas, Adidas saw it. So I got called up to run a bid at a campaign. And I was like, okay. Okay, that means that I have generated enough search engine optimization that if I tag a company, they're going to notice. So that's something that can't just happen. You have to generate it. It's something that you have to build, like a mountain of influence. So you support others and post their work, big them up. When you raise the bar, when you raise the waters, everybody's boat rises. So support each other, support, sure, if you want to work for big companies, which is great. They have a lot of notoriety. They work on, or they own some of the most well-loved and well-known characters in the world, and they hire the best to do it. How do you become one of them? Talk to them. Also, if you can go to a comic convention, this is one of the rarest industries where the executives, they're around, they're accessible. I came from music where you had to get a manager to go to an A&R to get in front of Sylvia Rhone. You had to have a whole process, and you had to be a complete package before they even considered you. So you can talk to writers, you can talk to other artists and support them and then show them your work, because every artist can't do every job. And if they see that you're consistent, they're just like, oh, hey, look, I can't do this cover. Can you? And that's how a lot of work gets done. Sanford Green got me both the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and the X-Men 92 hip-hop cover gigs. And if I didn't have that relationship with him, then that might not have happened. He was actually the first black man that I saw at a comic convention ever.
Which one was that?
New York Comic Con 2003. I was 23 years old.
Now you're doing the math.
Right?
DragonCon back in the 90s.
It was still in one room.
Oh my God.
Right.
That was cool. We're aging
Before
ourselves.
the explosion. So I'm Black Sci-Fi.
Yes.
Right? So I had a female question that I was going to ask, but I said, let me roll to see and not step on other questions. First, before anything, I am now hearing your story, and I would just say, I was going to ask you how you stay so friendly and so positive in a world where, my wife is an occupational therapist, so I always joke and say there's a lot of under spectrum and variety spectrum people here, and it's a celebration, right?
Yes.
Because it's not, you're not ostracized. So
That's right.
I tell them, say, you guys kid, bring them to a comic convention, right?
Yeah.
They'll fit in, right? But the other thing is, you're a happy spirit, and I remember meeting that. My wife and my son came to the con that was here in Atlanta in 2015, and we remember, you because of your energy, right? So pivoting from the female question, as a black creator, let's go black.
Yes. That's all right. That's what we are.
That's right. As with the female, there was a resistance, right? There was a breakthrough, and now we had another. Feels like an artificial resistance. It doesn't really feel sort of real because nobody believes that I don't know, unless you're a dystopian writer, nobody believes that this present reality is going to be the future. We're going to retaliate. We're not retaliating. We're going to rebound, right? What are some of the things as a creator, a black creator, and probably a fan of some of the things that you create, or the women create, or the black creators create, that wasn't around years ago that you want to see more of in the future? Or that you're planning to do? I want to leave you out.
Yeah. No, I feel like, I keep saying I feel like.
That's good.
I see a lot of black horror, which is kind of cool. There is a shift from, black folks being the first one to die,
Right.
to a reinvention of what is scary.
Okay.
And the narrative is shifting from our struggles being just, someone doesn't like me because of my color, or they're prejudging me because of this. There is a shift in what can be told, what is being told.
Because you're in Shook too, right?
No, I was going to be in Shook too, but I decided, I was like, you know what? Let me shift my focus.
Okay.
Let me focus on my health and have a really important book to make. So let me focus on that.
So do you have
first.
a horror that you might be doing?
The book of Mer has been shifting into a lot of things. It's a modern retelling of mermaid myths and legends from all over the world, but a lot of these stories are terrifying.
So you're gonna go into?
I am. Some of these, they're going to feel like short stories, but I was having trouble figuring out how to do it, and I finally figured out the exposition. Essentially, a young woman who is a musician has to learn the stories of ancient peoples in order to heal a landscape. And so the book that she carries tells her, or reveals to her, a story about a specific location. And so at first I was like, well, am I just going to tell the story like, okay, here is the story, here is the Dine story of grandmother water spider, and this is just the story, and then just kind of make it into a storybook and say, okay, here's this story here, here's this story there, where it's disjointed and there's no main character that you follow? Or do I kind of insert myself into the story and make it very personal? I felt like I would be doing a disservice to reinventing these stories for a new generation if I didn't do that, if I didn't place myself into it. But I felt like when I started making these stories, it was painful because I was digging to the painful parts of my past and giving it to my character, and I felt like it was hard to move forward until I dealt with it. I hadn't dealt with what I was giving to these characters. So I feel like as to how that relates to the larger, I feel like there's a shift in what is being made. There is more of a personal connection, a personal creation, instead of reaching for, I want to draw Spider-Man, I want to draw Batman. There is, I want to tell a story that means something to me. And I see more of it, and I love it, because that is daring to believe in your own stories and not necessarily needing to be validated by a larger company. But there is something to working with a company like that. It teaches you how to make your work on par, what they're looking for, what kind of excellence they expect. So I'm seeing that rise in independent comics, in Black creatives and Asian creatives and Southeast Asian creatives, that they are lifting their standards to be on par, not just art-wise, but story-wise.
Right.
Like they are contending with the majors. And you know what? There's room for both. There's room for both, because the majors can cover, they're like ships. I make this comparison all the time. It's like a giant cruise liner. It can go from here to Japan and carry a whole fleet. But sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you need a speedboat to be able to get through the nooks and the crannies and the smaller stories that are more personal, more specific, more catered to a very specific group. And even if someone is reading this story and they don't relate to the character directly, it's the human aspect that is being portrayed. And I'm seeing more indie stuff. Long story short, I'm seeing more indie stuff, and I like it. There's more horror. There's more fantasy. I want more cultural fantasy outside of just knights and dragons. I am attempting to study and do my due diligence to understand the armor of different cultures and turning that into fantasy.
Instead of trying to make a
Instead
black
of
version of somebody else.
Right. Yes. That is exactly it. Instead of making a black version of what already exists, making a
Grounded in their own culture.
Because that's what was so amazing about Wakanda.
Right.
It was the psychological permission to say, hey, something from Africa can be futuristic, universal, and still called to the ancient.
And mass appeal.
Mass appeal. That's right. Exactly. It can be universal. Yes. You can see a lovely peach little pale child wearing a T'Challa costume, and it's okay. He can think that it's cool because it is. And that's what we want. And so that's what I want to make more of. I want to see more research done into some of the cultures that don't get shine. And so I can say I want that, but I just want that for myself.
Last little tag question.
Yes.
What's your favorite horror then?
What's my
What do
favorite
you like? You like the Freddy vs. Jason? Do you like the Beloved? Do you like the one I just saw, the Weapons?
Yeah, right.
Like what's your horror?
So good.
There's so much.
There's so much that's.
Well,
it might be biased because I worked on Lovecraft Country,
Okay.
but I have been loving what Monkey Paw has been doing. They have been, man, it's so eerie and Art Nouveau and just, it's different. It's different. I like, it's creepy. I can only watch it once, and I'm like, no, I'm good on of that, but I want to watch the next one. Like it terrifies me because there's situations that you can believe, you can see yourself in them, and just like, oh wait, there's a whole demon city under this town. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go and watch some Disney now because I need a musical. I need to sing Wicked songs so I can be happy again. This is terrifying. But yeah, monkey paw stuff. It's really cool. Yeah.
A question. How, with your dealing with music, but also your artistry and everything has happened in your life, how have you been able to keep your balance for your mental health?
I am one of those people who enjoy creating, that I feel more at home when I am working. So I have been setting a schedule for myself. In the morning I get up and I write a list of all the things that I should be doing. And I actually schedule in time, maybe while I'm cleaning my house or walking or working out, to do nothing. I have to allow myself just at least 30 minutes that is not scheduled to do anything else. Like it's whatever I want to do. It's walking, just as long as it is for me, not for anybody else, not even maintenance. It's scheduling time that is mine, because sometimes we can work and we can come home and we've got to do all these things for other people, and you feel like you're just being taken from. Just 30 minutes. I mean, so much can happen in 30 minutes, but just 30 minutes of scheduled time, at least, for myself, where I put in music, I take a walk, and it's usually in that time that amazing ideas come.
Yep.
It's true. It's just when you remove the noise, that's when inspiration can kind of float in, because you're filling your mind with things that rejuvenate your spirits. And so I have been scheduling a lot of time, and I come up with song ideas all the time, but I can't indulge in them necessarily. So I have endless phone notes of little songs, but I started organizing them on Google Drive. And that is a really, really great way for me to, I use Google Slides, and I'll organize them and say, okay, on this date, I made this. This is what I intend for this. Here's the soundbar. And I can just go right back to it and say, okay, was this a good idea? All right, there are good pieces here. It's knowing when to edit. And so just making sure that I check in with myself, because I just used to work and drive myself into the ground, and then by the end of the day I'm like but I have to now. I'm an old model, and so my engines just don't go as far as they used to. So taking vitamins, scheduling time for dance, scheduling time for joy, scheduling time for, okay, well, let me just sit down and make a song.
Right.
That has been vital to my mental health and mental clarity, because I can look back and say, okay, I made a song today. Or, okay, I did some figure drawing and I got all the terrible drawings out, and now I can do this piece. So that is, especially for artists, we can completely drain ourselves of inspiration. It's because we need to change our minds by changing our bodies.
Last question.
Oh, last question.
Oh, I'll make them fast. Okay. Yeah, I say that.
When you're in between projects, what do you do to practice to make sure that you stay at the top of your game?
Oh, goodness. I feel like there is between projects. It's just Tarzaning from one to the next.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, right. I figure draw. I draw from life. I make sure if I don't have a current project on hand, whatever show I'm watching, I will make a new print out of it. So this time around, it's Wednesday. So I'm gonna finish that up and treat it like it's freelance, because that ensures that everything that I make is as good as it can be, and also leave room for terrible scribbly drawings that don't belong to anyone except my sketchbook.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Will
thank you.
Will that end up on the table at your booth?
Yes, I didn't quite finish it, but I think tonight I have my iPad, so I'm just gonna do do a rough version, then get some little mini prints done and have that at the table at least tomorrow.
We're doing Dresden is Wednesday tomorrow night, so I know.
Last question. Right? So you talked about thinking of stories. You talked about horror. You even talked about your style and even variations of your style. When you think of a story, do you think of it, oh, this is a comic book or this is a movie? I don't know if you've written novels, I didn't check, but do you think of it as a novel or do you just think this is a general story, it can be anything? Or do you think it's medium specific?
Well, there are things that can be medium specific, but when I think of a story, I think of it as a film. Essentially, I think of it as a film, and comics to me are storyboards for film. Yeah, so they and you'd be surprised at how much people consider comic books as storyboards for film, because like I said, in working on HBO's Lovecraft Country, there were a lot of storyboard artists, and I was like, this is your storyboard? This could have been a comic panel. Right. You're essentially doing film direction, but with comics, there's a lot more information that's given to your audience, where you are supplying an establishment shot, a dialogue, like you have to create these things. But when I think of stories, I think of the person, what they want, what they need, what has happened to them that their normal has been changed, and who they are and who they need to be in order to get it back. So I think of it in a story clock. 12 o'clock either is the inciting incident or the normal. Here is the village. And then 1 o'clock is, boom, this is how your world has completely changed. And you can't go back to the normal until you move forward. So now there is a herald. Here is something that comes and tells you what has to happen, where you need to go, or it's a flyer that says you must go to the county fair and beat the dragon, or it's the wizard that says you must go to Mordor. Like that. It's something that someone who knows what's going on, who tells the protagonist, this is what you have to do in order to get what you need. And they usually refuse it and try their own way, and then they realize that it's inevitable and they have to go. Then 4 o'clock, they start their journey. It's usually at that point where they put in a B plot or something else and they start it over in a very condensed version. Or you start down your yellow brick road and you meet the Scarecrow and you start meeting new characters. This is where your new characters are introduced. And then you realize that you're all going to the same place together. Right. 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock, boom, you actually get to the Emerald City. This is, you've gotten to the thing that you want halfway through your story. Now, there's a critical choice that the main character has to make, and the rest of the story, the rest of the clock, is the repercussions of that choice. 7 o'clock, there is a surprise. There is a reversal. What's good is bad, what's bad is good. The person who you thought was good is actually not. And 8 o'clock, the antagonist gets the upper hand, because usually what the good person wants is also what the bad person wants, and they have different intentions. And those lines can be blurry. 9 o'clock, the lowest point in your story. That is like, man, I have no idea how they're going to get out of this. It seems to be its darkest at 9 o'clock. And who comes in but those 4 o'clock characters to switch it up? And they have something, or there is a shift that says, hey, all right, now it might be bright again. Here's Ice Tea to come in. Nah, you're in the wrong place. He always comes out of nowhere with the answers. And so 11 o'clock is the final showdown and the resolution of that interaction. And then there's a new normal. But if you're doing an ongoing series, what has been fixed creates a new problem. Right. And then you're back at 1 o'clock. So you can think of it as an idea like, okay, this is what someone wants. This person wants to go to music school. What's in the way of them doing that? What happens that it's not easy? What do they need? What do they want? What is driving them to face all of these things that come their way that they will overcome in order to get it? Even if it's Dora the Explorer, like, look, I want to go on an adventure and climb a mountain. It's like, yeah, girl, but there are some vultures up there. Bring a big stick. from tiny adventures to large ones, most of them utilize that clock. And so I'll come up with an idea, and then I have to really put it to the test to say, is this interesting enough for someone to want to follow along and see the person win? And if it isn't, then what they want isn't good enough.
What a beautiful answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.